Hey, it's Barb. Welcome to Soul Wisdom. Today's show is everything channeling, my favorite topic. My guest is Rita Strough, who's an amazing channel, medium, psychic, and all around person. She's also my dear friend. And she's going to talk to you and tell you how you can start channeling yourself. Really. So stick around. Hi, Rita.
Hi, Barb.
Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here with you today.
I'm excited to have you here today. So, Rita is not only an amazing channel and medium and psychic, she's also an amazing person and a lot of fun. And I'm proud to call her my dear friend. So, I'm really, really happy you're here today, Rita, because we're going to talk about all the stuff that we love to talk about, specifically channeling.
Yes, yes. Oh my God, Barb, I know. Just having the opportunity to get to know you over the last however long it's been, many, many years. You're such a fun person, and it's a joy to be your friend. And it's so much fun to be connected in this way. This is how we came together as friends through channeling when you were just beginning, and I had been doing it for a little while. And here we are all these years later, the important work that is to come that we're doing now, that we've been doing, is really getting a closer focus now. And I think everyone's going to be needing to hear and understand some of these messages that are coming through.
Coming through loud and clear.
Mhm.
And I think even more than ever, at least for me, they're not, and I'm not saying there's such a sense of urgency or they're not fear-based. It is more, you really need to start listening. Everybody needs to start listening, right? Um,
Absolutely.
I'm going to paint just a quick little picture of how we met. I knew nothing about channeling. Uh, I had a very dramatic entrance into channeling. So it happened one night. And I was looking for answers because I didn't know what it was that had happened to me. And we had a mutual acquaintance who we don't even remember her name. I think we might, but again, synchronicities, you meet people for the right reasons. She was the connector. She knew you. I told her my story. She said, you have to meet someone I know. And we met at Panera Bread for breakfast and stayed through lunch.
I remember.
We had two meals there. And I was so relieved and excited because I pictured you being this like, oh, this is what it is. And you have to no longer eat meat and telling me all these things. And in my mind, I was already like, that's not going to happen if I have to like stop shaving my armpits and wear muumuus and leave my husband and go on top of a mountain somewhere. So when I met you, I was like, oh, you can be normal and do this.
Yeah. I remember you were a ball of energy because you were so, like, you were a combination of excited and curious and a little like apprehensive, and you had so many questions. And again, it's just such a joy to sit with you that day. Again, because you were coming to me as if I was some kind of an authority, and I was thinking, who am I? I mean, I had my own spiritual awakening. Again, it's probably about, I want to say like 15 years ago now. What are we in 2025? Yeah, it started like
Yes.
around 2008, 2009. And just questioning like life. Why am I here? What is the purpose of life? What is the purpose of having a life if all we're supposed to do is rush through every day and look forward to weekends and holidays? And none of it made any sense to me. I was having this awakening, and through some miracle found my way to the angels, angel oracle decks, a book called Angel Speak by Barbara Mark and Trudy Griswold, which really I attribute that with opening me up to communicating with angels, which is channeling, by the way. So, we talk about channeling as if it's some kind of a separate thing, but for me, this experience of opening up, having a spiritual awakening, connecting to this unseen realm through first the angels and then through other beings, it became something of a mystery to me to try to solve. Really, I became so curious about so many things. And I realized that I was trying to figure out how to label myself. What am I? Am I a psychic? Am I a medium because I'm connecting to dead people? Am I a psychic because I'm picking up on information that is happening in this person's life, in their bodies? What is going on here? So it took a while for me to realize that the label that is most appropriate is channel. I'm a channel, which means I open up and I can connect with a variety of frequencies, which is where this information is coming from. And I don't know if I told you this, but when I had that radio show that me and my friend Ann were doing for like a couple of years, and then I switched and we did it with Mike Gross for 7 more years.
And what was
um,
the name of that show? Because
oh,
I
Talking
loved that
Angels
show.
radio show, yeah.
Yes, I was a guest on that show.
Talkanangels. We used to do it. Talkanangels. But my friend Ann and I started that because she's the one who really turned me on to angels. After 2 years, she just didn't want to do it anymore. I wanted to keep going. My friend Mike Gross, who I worked with, was getting into this law of attraction, and he had his own concepts of things he was excited about. And after Ann left, I had him on the show as a guest. And then he said, "Oh my God, Rita, this was so much fun. I would love to do this." And I'm like, "Well, why don't you be my co-host?" And voila, 7 years later, we're doing this show. We did it for 7 years, but like
Mhm.
all of this crazy stuff that happened, and I've learned not to use the term crazy, but say amazing. Because
So take that back.
yeah,
Not
sometimes
crazy,
people, you
amazing.
start wondering, am I crazy? But you're
Yeah.
not. You're not crazy. There's information. We ourselves are energetic, vibrational beings, like an instrument. I like to think of it almost like a radio, where you're tuning into different frequencies to connect with different information. And over time, I had experiences, mystical experiences that connected me with really a variety of ascended masters, elementals, spirit animal worlds, mineral kingdoms, things outside the planet, star systems. So it's a really vast and beautiful multi-dimensional universe that we inhabit. And I believe there are multiple universes because really, if you think about it, there's always worlds within worlds within worlds. So this can't be the only universe if we follow that logic. And it's just grown. So I call myself a channel. I don't think I'm an authority on anything, but I do have 15 years of awakening experience and a multitude of stories and experiences that happened to me that inform me that we are not alone, that we are able to talk to these unseen realms for information, for healing, for direction and guidance, and we should be doing that. It's a natural thing for humans to do.
I was going to ask you another question, but since you ended with that, here's my next question for you then. Do you think that anyone is capable of doing what we do?
Yes, absolutely. I really do. I really do.
Mhm.
It's the same thing when I started with the angels. And when I say I started with the angels, it was something like this. I read a book that said, if you really want to connect with your angels, light a candle, take a few deep breaths, center yourself, make sure you're not going to be interrupted. Say this little prayer, which was the angel of God prayer that I remember saying when I was a little kid before
Mhm.
going to bed at night. And then you listen. So really, we are built to connect with this part of ourselves that is non-physical, that is in existence at this moment. The thing that's interesting about being a human being is we have chosen to incarnate, to have a physical life right now. We've done this many times before. We'll probably do it many times after this life. But in this moment, at this time, this is the face and the name and the person, and this is our life circumstances. This is where we decided to come in for a physical experience. But our true nature is eternal. So every single human being, every single sentient being on this planet is capable of stilling the outside world, coming to a place of peace and solitude and stillness within, letting go of the distractions and focusing. So that's really, that little book taught me how to let go of the external distractions, make sure I'm in a place where I won't be interrupted, where somebody's going to come walking in or the door is going to slam. You really do need to, in the beginning, I believe you really need to isolate so that you can feel like you're not going to be interrupted. Distractions can get in the way of this, but an ordinary, everyday person, all of us, every single one of us, can do this. You just need to trust yourself and believe that this is who you are. The minute that you feel fear, doubt, or this feeling of being even like uncomfortable, if you're not comfortable, if you're not settled, if you're not grounded into your body, if you're not feeling safe, it's hard to do this. So you need to feel like you are in a safe, quiet place where you can clear all distractions away, take a few deep breaths. And in that process, you're shifting your vibration. You're coming in and you're going up. When you do that, this world opens right here. Boom, third eye, the crown. It just opens before you and you become an observer. You just simply sit, listen, and observe. You're not talking, you're not thinking, you're not trying to create something with your mind or create a scenario that you would like to imagine. That's creative imagining and dreaming. That's a different thing altogether, which we can also do. When you're trying to connect as a channel, you're making yourself receptive. And how do you do that? If you were going to sit down like we are today, an interview, I'm making myself available. You're making yourself available to me. You're not focused on what you're going to do in an hour from now. You're not thinking about something that you have to, oh, I got to get that letter out. No, we're here now. So it's the same thing. You have to give all of your attention and all of your focus to this space within. Leave yourself open and receptive, have no expectations, and see what happens. That's all you have to do. And when I say see what happens, you sit there and you just allow whatever wants to come in to come in. If these are thoughts that come in your head that are disturbing or whatever, you observe them. You ask yourself, what is this? And it might just disappear. It'll just go away. And you ask it to wait on the side because you're waiting for information to come in right now from some higher place within. And as you do that, it's like you're setting the table and you're inviting your guests to come in and sit down and have a lunch with you, have a meal with you, have a conversation with you. You have to be receptive, but every single human being can do this. I believe that. Absolutely.
So if I'm listening to you right now and I don't know much about channeling, I have to say, I would think this sounds pretty easy. I could do that. You brought up a few things though, so I'd like to go back because I know myself and with my clients and other people, what holds people back. And in the beginning, what held me back too. Number one, it was the doubt and the trust. Doubting. So on one hand, when I had my experience, and it was a big one, in that moment, in those 90 minutes, was almost 2 hours, I never felt more alive. I never felt more myself. I remember having a thought, Barbara, having a thought saying, I've been waiting for this my whole life. And at the same time saying, what are we waiting for? Like, what is this? But my real self, my true self said, you know what this is. But continuing, so someone who hasn't done this, and maybe they are getting messages or information, they're going to doubt it. And again, I'm going by talking to people that will say, but it sounds like me. So I want your thoughts on that. Like, did it sound like you? Does it sound like your own voice? How do you know it is something more? How do you know it's something higher and not just your own voice? I don't want to put you on the spot here,
No,
but
no.
just like you yourself then, how did you know, like, oh, wow, okay, this sounds
Yeah.
like a message from not myself, from somewhere else or another being?
Well, yeah, if I go back to that, really that first time that it happened for me, it was well, I can tell you this one little story. I remember when before I even connected with angels, I was in this place of kind of discontent, trying to figure out why are we here? What's the point? So I had set up a space in my basement to meditate because again, I just felt like I needed to clear my head. I just want to clear my head. And so through doing that, pretty much on a regular basis, I would go down the basement and I would turn on a little soft lamp and get my pillows and put some like soft music on in the background, just clear my head. I had this image pop in my mind of a raccoon, just the face of a raccoon, boom, just showed up and it stayed there and it was prominent. And then it went away and I was like, that's weird. So I Googled, what is the spiritual meaning of raccoon? And here it was like a description. If you look up if you see any animal or you have any kind of animal show up in your dreams, something strange with an animal that gets your attention, just Google it, look it up. It'll, look, put the name of it. Like I put raccoon totem, raccoon totem meeting. And when the description of that came up, it precisely described exactly what I was feeling and going through at that moment. It had to do with wearing different masks, trying to be different people for a different person for each situation that you're in, and how good you can be at changing your masks to fit the situation. And at that moment, at that time in my life, that is exactly how I was feeling. I was almost feeling like I have to be a different person for all these different people. But it was a message. So just that simple image popping in my head was a message that I didn't create. I didn't ask for it. I wasn't thinking about raccoons, but it popped in there and there it was. As I, again, moved on now to, I'm reading this book and it's instructing me how to connect with angels. The first thing that happened when I did that, when I sat back, lit my candle, said my prayer, and just relaxed, and they tell you to have a paper and pen handy in case something comes through, I started to hear a word in my head, and it was love, just the word love, but it kept repeating in this way. It sounded like this: love, love, love. And it just kept going, love, love, love. And I'm like, okay. And it was my own voice. Like it didn't sound like some love. It didn't sound like some kind of strange creature speaking in my head. It was my voice sounding like that, love. So I wrote down love, and then it was peace, peace, peace. Again, in my own voice, in my own head, I'm writing these words down. Love, peace, serenity, tranquility, harmony. All these beautiful words came out. So I was writing them in a column in this notebook. And then I heard you, 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 you. So I wrote you. And then I heard R, R. You are going to. And I was like, I'm getting a sentence. So then I was like, I just kind of cocked my head and was like, my eyes, and I just listened to it. You are going to be working with us. We are opening you up to receive. And it was this whole message that came out. And I'm thinking, I am not creating this. It is coming to me. And I think the way that the angels did it for me was by introducing, they stepped me into it. They threw a word in my head, one word, and they just kept repeating it. It wouldn't leave until I expressed it. And then another word, and I expressed it. So they were teaching me how to do this. This is how it works. We're going to give you a word, and we're going to keep giving it to you until you recognize that you need to express it, either in writing or out loud. You either say it or you write it, express it. You're a channel, put it out there. So many times information does come through and it sounds like your own voice. Sometimes you might think you're creating it, and maybe there's some part of you that wants to say it. Maybe it's some part of your higher self which knows your truth, that knows what you need to hear. So, you can fumble around with that feeling of, is it me, or am I really getting this from somewhere else? And it's okay. It's okay to feel like maybe I am just creating it, but know that the message itself is what matters, is what's important. So if you're getting something and you think maybe you're creating it, that's okay. Write it down, get it out, say it. If you keep going though, at some point, you're going to lose that feeling of I'm creating it, because you're going to be listening so intently that you're just going to be receiving and transcribing, receiving and transcribing, receiving and transcribing. You no longer have time to think about or judge what you're hearing. You're just doing it. You're just doing it. It's just coming out. And I think you're right, Barb. A lot of people struggle with, I think it's just, am I just creating it? Maybe it's not really true. Maybe it's not really me. But you'll notice if you ask your guides, angels, whoever you're working with, ask them to give you some validations, meaning ask them about something that you don't know. And at the time when I was opening up to this, I was still working in corporate America. So my dialogues with them, when I was kind of trying to figure out if this was real or not, was related to my job. I was in sales, so I had this one prospect. It was actually Star Restaurant Groups in Philadelphia, Stephen Starr and all his family of restaurants. I was trying to win them as our health insurance broker. I wanted to do their health insurance, which is a big deal. It's a huge deal. And it takes a long time to work these deals. And we had been through a whole lot of stuff. So I was asking my angels, I'm like, what's going to happen with the Star Restaurant Group? And they're like, you're going to get it. Don't worry. It's in the bag. You've nothing to worry about. So I'm in work and I'm trying to get to close the deal. And at the last minute, they tell me they've gone with somebody else. And I'm like, oh man. So this isn't real, right? It was fun while it lasted. Within 2 weeks, they called me back and said that other broker we were going with, they're horrible. We're going to come with you guys. And I got goosebumps all over me. And I'm like, oh my God, it was correct. It was correct. So you can ask them, your guides, to, validate something for you. Throw them a little question and see what happens. If it comes true, you'll have a better feeling. I call them faith builders, these little validations along the way. Even doing the radio show with Anne in the beginning, we would bring our deck of angel cards. Random strangers would call in, people I had no idea who they were. And in my head, I'm hearing, ask their name and where they're calling from, ask their name and where they're calling from. So I'd say, okay, what's your name? Where are you calling from? If they had a name that could be spelled multiple different ways, my guides in my head would be like, how do you spell that? How do you spell that? How do you spell that? Because it apparently, and again, this is what I've learned from them, the letters in a person's name have a specific kind of a frequency or a vibration. So if somebody spells Catherine with a K or Catherine with a C, it's a different Catherine. It's a different frequency. So I would ask them, and then where are you from? They'd say, I'm from California. And I'd see the state of California. Where in California? And I'd have to say, where in California? Oh, I'm in Petaluma. And I'd see a little light shine, like just above San Francisco. Petaluma, Petaluma, Petaluma. And then it'd be like, boom, you could see almost like an energetic bridge form. And I'm like, okay, Catherine from Petaluma, what's your question? I didn't know how to do any of that. It all just came in from trusting and listening inside your head. So if you can become comfortable with the idea that you're being guided, that you're not alone, that you don't have to figure anything out, you're going to be taught and shown. They're teaching as they're welcoming you into this community of channelers, as they're opening you up and attuning you to their frequencies, because they do attunements to you, just like you would to an instrument. A guitar sounds terrible if you try to play it and it's out of tune, right? You got to move the little thing and ding, 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 bring it to the right thing, then it sounds great. So the whole time you're opening to channel, you're learning, they're working with you. They're giving you clues and hints and information to help tune you to work with them. And then it becomes more and more and more solid. But I got to be honest with you, even after all these years, I still have performance anxiety. I still get nervous. I still fear that I can't do this, even though I know I can. So don't beat yourself up for being a human and being skeptical and being scared. It happens to everybody. But know that you will be trained and you will be taught how to do it. If your heart is in the right place and this is what you're really wanting and choosing, just allow it to happen. It's a beautiful thing.
Few key points I'm going to go back on too, because as I'm listening to you, I love that you're really showing people out there how they can do this themselves, how they can start to do this themselves. And some of the things that you said, number one, getting something and writing it down. So to me, they're watching and saying, are you paying attention? Someone else might get that and think, well, that's interesting. I don't know why that's coming, and wouldn't do anything with it. But then still say, I want to connect to my angels, my spirit guides. So I know people that they're getting messages all the time, but they dismiss them, or they don't even accept them and make the effort to write them down or to acknowledge it. The raccoon, you looked it up. So again, it's like you're showing, I'm really interested in this. I want to know more. Please send me more things, and I will be curious about them and follow through. It's like the little breadcrumbs, I call them. You're being given breadcrumbs all the time, and you can either notice them and follow them, or you can be like, la, 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 where's my angels? And people, even the meditation, I know people that meditate that still aren't there. Do you think that maybe if you are trying too hard and you have expectations of how it should be, how it should feel, how it should look. Do you think maybe that could be what's holding some people back, or not a detriment, but you know what I mean? That could
Yeah.
get frustrate you because you're saying it's not happening for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that a lot. And it can be an impediment because you're creating a sense of anxiety within yourself. And that sense of anxiety is almost the opposite of what you need to hold in order to be clear and open and receptive. If you're trying too hard, I would recommend that you stop trying. Just stop trying.
Right.
Just enjoy the feeling. You know, a lot of what's coming through, and I'm sure we'll talk about this down the road, but especially for this year and what's been coming for the last 6 to 8 months is living for joy, being in joy. And that doesn't mean you just hop around all gay and silly. I'm a happy little kitten. No, because we're all confronted with life's challenges, and we have pain, and we have difficult decisions, and we have situations that are hard. But the joy of connecting as a channel is in the feeling of communion. So it's really a feeling of communion with this higher part of the self, and what that means. You know, if your goal is to be a channel, connect, and deliver messages to people, and that's truly what you want, then you have to ask yourself, why? Why do I want that? What's my purpose in wanting to be a channel? Is it for the recognition? Is it so I can feel special? Is it so that I can feed my own ego with something that I can do that somebody else can't do? What's really at the heart of it? For some people, it is a curiosity and they want to see, they want to test themselves. I feel intuitive, maybe I can try this, but they're trying and they're not getting anywhere. So they get discouraged, or they look at other people and they see, how come they're getting messages and information and I'm not? You immediately start to feel sorry for yourself. You start to feel disconnected. You don't feel worthy. All of that is just, again, the mind creating these impediments or obstacles. So you have to make friends with your mind. Let the mind know that it's okay to have those thoughts. It's okay to have those emotions. It's all right to be jealous and feel unworthy. It's okay to feel that. But know that at my core, I am a spiritual, divine being of light, and I am constantly receiving guidance and information. Maybe the way I receive it is a little different than the way this other person receives it. Maybe I'm not a visual person. Maybe I'm more auditory. Maybe I feel things more than other people do. Maybe I sense and know things that just come into my body and my whole body reacts. I've known people like that where they're trying to get a vision because they see everybody else getting visions and talking about their visions, but they're not a visual person, you know? They're mathematical, they're musical. They might get it in a song, and then they have to wonder, how does that work? Well, you're going to figure it out as you work with your guides, because they'll teach you, just like mine taught me. I'm a communicator. I love language. I love writing. I love the spoken word. So of course they're going to come through me as an auditory, communicative, language-based person. If I'm a musical person, if I'm a creator with my hands, a sculptor, if I like to cook, my messages may come through when I'm preparing a meal. You might suddenly notice something in that orange that you're cutting up, or whatever you're working with that suddenly speaks to you. You may have a deeper connection with the elemental realm. And so every time you're out in nature, the trees are just, they're speaking, they're singing to you. You know, don't discount the fact that we are all very unique and different, and no two of us are identical. That's the other thing that's amazing about being here is we have some people with lots of similar talents and abilities, but no two people are really exactly the same. So it's kind of ludicrous to expect that you're going to be identical to another person. That, you know, because I'm a medium, I can be just like James Van Prague. No, I'm not like him. And he gets it a different way than I do. He gets it a different way than John Holland or any of these other, amazing mediums that we've heard of. Get it. Everybody's different. So don't feel overwhelmed by it, and lay your expectations to the side and just say over and over again to your guides and angels, teach me about my abilities, show me how to use them, help me understand what are my unique talents and abilities, and how can I use them to serve humanity? What are my unique talents and abilities, and how can I use them to serve myself and humanity? That's all. Just keep coming back to that as a mantra, as a practice, as a prayer, and put it out there. And you will see your guides are going to come and they're going to custom craft something just for you, and it'll be yours and yours alone. That's why we have so many channels out there right now, Barbara, because people are waking up to this idea that we can communicate. We can communicate through time. I mean, I know you've experienced that too, past lives. You can communicate forward, backward, in all dimensions, across the universe, down into the earth, into a cellular level, to the body, to the realms of the, masters and beyond. Every single being that I've ever connected with has had some kind of interesting origin story, where they came from. I never thought that I would connect with a Norse god, because I thought Norse gods were mythological. Well, guess what? There's a lot of things we call mythological, but if a human being at any point in our shared history has ever believed in, prayed to, or imagined it real, then it is real in some dimension of reality. It's real. So you can say all you want about that. Nobody believes in unicorns, right? Oh, I believe in unicorns. Unicorns are real for certain people who perceive that dimension and they see it. Just like some people can see auras. I can't see auras. I don't sit here and go, oh man, I can't see auras. Like, I'm terrible. I'm worthless. No. But God bless you for seeing auras. That's a cool thing. What's my aura look like? I can't see it. Tell me. And if I was told that I could see auras and I kept trying and trying and trying and I couldn't get it, I would say to myself, gee, I guess I can't see auras. Or maybe I'm seeing them and I'm not noticing them. I don't know, but I'm going to let it go. That's the other thing. Let it go. If you tried and tried and tried to do something that somebody else can do and you're just not doing it, let it go. And like I said, open up to your guides and angels and ask them to teach you what it is that you do, how you see, how you receive. And you'll notice that that feeling kind of dissipates and goes away. It's just, you have to learn that through experience, I think.
I remember, Rita, we actually used to say a few years ago, at least I know I did with other people, oh, I draw the line at unicorns. So in other words, I can believe in all this, but I'm sorry, no unicorns, until one comes to you or you have a client that gets a unicorn, you go, and I remember that happening and saying, now I have to believe in unicorns. Really? Because to me, it just sounded too woo-woo, too whatever.
Childish, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And I think the more being open and
Yeah.
discerning at the same time, I have a healthy, maybe a little unhealthy amount of skepticism in me, which is why I think it took me a little bit longer to fully accept what was happening with me.
Yeah.
When you talked about not deserving when you're trying to do this and it's not happening, I had quite the opposite, where it happened like kablamo, like unbelievable. And I didn't feel deserving that it was happening to me. That isn't that interesting? For one of the other things I had during this channeling experience, other thought I had was I was looking up in the corner of the room at an unseen being. And what did I say to them? I'm not worthy. Barbara felt unworthy. And talk about like the different, how we receive information. I don't know what was said because I didn't hear it, but I went like this. Okay. And Barbara's saying, wait, what? What are we agreeing to? Why are you nodding your head? It was so surreal, but if it was a movie, it would be kind of funny, I guess, at that point. Certain things, I don't see auras. When I tried to see auras, I bought a book on auras, how to see auras. I sat or stood in front of the mirror in the hallway trying to see auras. And that's when I started seeing my face change.
Okay.
So that's what I do. I see people's face. I see transfiguration. People can see it on my face. That is part of what my little box, whatever you want to call it. But again, there's the uniqueness of it. I'm trying to do one thing and I'm getting frustrated because I can't see auras, but I can see other things.
Right. That's a perfect example right there. You're trying so hard to do this thing that someone else can do.
Right.
And yet there it is right in your face. You have this, wow, this amazing ability to see transfiguration, to see faces change and shape shift.
And I
That's
Googled that.
really unique.
I Googled seeing faces in the mirror. Nothing. I Googled my experience and I put in so many words thinking somebody else must have had this experience. Nobody. Even when I would talk to spiritual teachers and they'd be like, tell me your story. Wow, that's interesting. But that was my personal unique experience. I
Right.
love that we're having this conversation because, again, someone who is a medium or having those experiences, but then maybe you even take a training from a particular person and they're trying to teach you how they do it.
Yeah.
And you're saying, but I don't get it that way.
Right.
So I think, especially with teaching, there can be someone that says, write a book on how to channel, how to be a medium, how to be a psychic. I've read a lot of those kinds of books over the years. I usually get something from them.
Yeah.
But it's when I try then to say, oh, let me try doing it this way, that then I get bunged up. It's not happening. I get frustrated. So now I've just learned to say, this is how I do it. Like you said, this is how it
Well,
works for
it's
me.
interesting. When I was holding classes at that first place that I was in at integrated therapy in Mount Laurel, um, it was interesting. I would be I had these classes that I called harmonic healing with the angels. And again, the name came to me from my guides. I didn't really understand what it meant. But it was channeled information that was coming through along with healings and other things. And then I would have people choose oracle cards and I'd go around and give little mini readings to pretty much everybody in the room. I still don't know how I did all of it, but I'd be there for 2.5 hours doing that, once a
For
month or
$20 a
whatever.
head, right?
Yeah. And people would inevitably come up to me afterwards and go, oh my God, thank you so much. That was amazing. Can you teach me how you do that? I can't tell you how many times I'd have people say, can you teach me how to do that? And I would always say, I don't know. I don't know if I can or can't. I said, well, maybe we'll figure that out. And then eventually down the road, a long time later, I did create this class called The Language of Spirit, which was like a 10-week, basically like a psychic development course. But all that a teacher can really do is share with you what they experienced, how they do what they do.
Yeah.
And like you said, you can get something from it, you can get pieces and parts from it. For some people who have had no instruction or no clue or haven't really, they're just fascinated by the whole thing. It's a doorway. It's a doorway to themselves, to trying to find out what their special gifts are. It gives them some terminology, some exposure to these different things that we talk about, like clairsentience and clairaudience and these different realms that we can connect with. That was one of the things that I found really fascinating was how it was given to me that we have these levels of frequency or vibration that we connect to. And because I just thought all this stuff is all around us everywhere. And it really is, but like being able to like if you wanted to connect with somebody who's passed away, it's kind of here, and then if you want to go to the angels, they're kind of here, and the ascended masters are kind of here, and then like if you want to go lower, you can connect with the animal realms and plant realms and out wider in this realm and that realm. Just so much information. So for someone to receive that and go, wait a minute, huh? How do I do that? How do I know where I'm at? It can cause a lot of confusion. Anytime you go for any of these training classes or reading these books, you'll know if you're ready for it, if it resonates, if it makes sense to you, if it's how you're tuned to receive it. And if it's not hitting you square, not feeling right, just abandon it. Have no fear about letting go of a teaching that's not resonating, that doesn't feel right for you, that isn't making sense, that doesn't sit well with you. I've had that happen too, like where I've tried to go to different teachers and sometimes I'm just like, nah, you know what? That's good. You do you. I'm gonna do me. I gotta do my own thing. I don't want to, I no longer wish to try to figure out how you're doing it. I've got this other way I'm doing things. So again, like
Exactly.
everybody's unique and different, but it's good to go get some training. It's if you're interested and you're curious, go to a teacher that feels right to you. Take
Hmm.
what you like, leave the rest. Don't worry about it. My thing is your greatest teachers are your own guides and angels, your own higher self. The sphere that you are in is the sphere where you'll get all your answers from. If you try to exit that sphere, go to another sphere, merge with another sphere, you may find some information useful, but it's what resonates and feels like your home that makes sense, if that makes sense. That sounded kind of
Makes
otherworldly.
makes total sense. And as you're talking and saying that, um, the next thing I'd like to bring up, which I think is huge, is that we're it seems like we, meaning as a society, are really looking to the outside world for validation, confirmation, information, and there's so much of it. And okay, we're contributing to it, I guess, because this is out there. There's information that can feed your soul, and there's information, I think, that can distract you away from your soul.
Mhm.
And sometimes there's just an overload of good information, but it is, I want someone to tell me how it works. I want them to tell me, or even people that you probably know that go to psychics and mediums constantly because they want them to tell them about themselves. And
Mhm.
at some point, you need to then just say, I need to do it. I need to do the work. I need to start trusting. And that's how you can connect with guides, angels, masters, teachers, whoever's there for you. And there's a lot of them. We all know that. Um, but I think too that maybe that takes some maturation at a certain point where you say, you know what? I've gotten a lot of information, bits and pieces from books or podcasts or teachers. Let me take all this and let me see how I can put it together for myself now.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about learning to trust yourself and your own instincts. I think that I mean, and we've done this too. Sometimes you want to just kind of go to another person just to see what they see. What do you get from me?
Mm-hmm.
I've done that many times, and there's some really great friends in this community that are very gifted. Uh, it's just like when you're not feeling good, sometimes you got to go to the doctor and you already feel like you know what it
Exactly.
is, but they
Yes.
help diagnose it and maybe give you a
Oh, yeah.
treatment you didn't think of before. And you're like, oh, it's pretty cool. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's not great to rely on others to be that for you all the time. And I know
Yeah.
that in my own practice, if I do have someone who continues to feel like they need direction all the time, then the guidance is really, and it always seems to be given to go within, to run this through your own filter. What do you think you should do? How does it feel for you? When you think of that situation, what do you want to do? The guides are there to kind of give you some high level information, but it's up to you to take that and make it apply to yourself. So
The
there's
guides cut
there's
them
something
off,
to be
right?
said about just trusting your own gut. And then as a teacher or a practitioner or a reader or a counselor, directing people back into that practice. So many times I would say to people, this is what's coming through for you, but I want you to take it into meditation. I want you to
Yeah.
go deeper. I want you to figure out what's the next step, what's going on here. Because you need to make some choices. Your discernment is a little off, or your trust is a little off. You've been wounded. Your armor is too tight. You got to back down. Like the guides will give you some promptings. But in my experience, the guides have always redirected the individual to the granular stuff, to getting to the real meat of what's going on. They'll give this high level appraisal, if you will, kind of a picture, a framework, if you will. And then the person will come away going, ah, okay, so I need to do this. I don't know. That's what you should check in with your guides and see.
Yes.
This is what they're kind of giving me for you, and I can feel it in here, but you're not listening or you're not open. So you need to do the work now.
Yeah.
And you keep giving it back and giving it back, and eventually they'll understand and they'll learn how to use their own guidance system
Mm-hmm.
independently. And then maybe
Yes.
just check in once or twice a year to say, hey, hi, how you doing? Anything, you picking up anything for me now? And it's like, oh, I can feel it. Something's different here. it's fun and it's exciting and it's a responsibility too. I always say, thank you for allowing me to be of service in this way because I feel like it's an honor for me to be entrusted with someone's heart, to be
Mhm.
of service as a healer, a communicator for them. It's a big responsibility and I don't take it lightly. And I think people who are nervous, who have performance anxiety, that's why. It's because we realize it's a responsibility. We're not taking responsibility for the person. We're responsible for our role in their healing. And we want to be as open, pure, and transparent as possible about what we're receiving and how we're receiving it, and give any caveats or disclaimers you need to give. So many times I've said, this is not an exact science. I want you to
Mhm.
know that. I'm literally, I'm literally receiving and interpreting a symbolic language through my own filters, through my own stuff for you. So now you take that and you take it into yourself and you transcribe what you've received through your filters with your guides, and they will help you place those puzzle pieces where they need to go. It's a collaboration. It's not like one person's leading the charge here and somebody's following. And the client needs to know that. They need to understand that they're responsible also. We hold ourselves in integrity, and in this state of almost like a purity of spirit
Mhm.
for them. And then they have to take it and they go with it, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. And as you're talking, I'm thinking I get this line in my head a lot from Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
And I would be very humbled by it, but I think a part of me too would hold back because I would think, wow, in my mind, I knew if my ego took over, I remember saying to my husband, I could have a cult. I know I could. You could have a cult, meaning you could mislead people, tell them things, and they would follow you almost blindly because we know there are people like that. And
Uh-huh.
I, inside of me, my soul, whatever, would do the opposite of like, I don't want that. Like, I don't want people even depending too much on
Right.
the information because, again, they have their own guides, they have their own guidance system. And I believe that instead of, they're not going to fill in every part for you. That's the fun of life. And that's
Yeah.
also the work of life, which is here are some avenues you could take, two or three different things, different roads you could take. It's up to you maybe,
Yeah.
but this path might bring you here, this path might bring you here, this path might bring you here. I did a reading with a person a couple of weeks ago, and her brother came through who was an addict, and she told me everyone loved him. He was very charismatic, he was so much fun. And he said, first of all, he said he was delighted because he said to her through me, I can really see you now. You're just colors. Oh my God, I can really see you. And he was explaining to her, he could see everything in her aura, like life patterns, her
Wow.
choices, past lives, all of that. And he said, I had choices. My choice was not to do anything. So he had all these different things, maybe only two or three. And he kind of sat it out, it felt like. I
Yeah.
choose not to choose. And so
Right.
that's what happened. He really didn't move forward in life. He kind of was really stuck. But
Yeah.
he also said there was no judgment. There's no judgment. No one's saying, you did this, you did that. It was, oh, here's what you could have done, but you didn't.
Right.
You didn't choose it. Okay.
Yeah.
And he said, it's nothing but love. And he said, and when I say love, it's like you breathe it in. It's just the air. It is just love. And I
Yeah.
loved that latest reading because I could feel his like excitement and him wanting to share that with her. Like, oh my God, this is so cool. I can see you. Like, whoa, I can really see you. But you're not, you're just colors, you're just energy. He was seeing her energy and vibration and patterns, her blueprint of
That's
her
so
existence in her
cool.
life.
Isn't it amazing? It is, it's amazing what we are shown. Um, there was a time in the very beginning when I was first starting to open up to spirit. And I remember this. My friend Nick is a guy who is a filmmaker. And I had met him through the last place that I worked, which ironically is where I met a lot of spiritual people. The last place that I worked out in the world in corporate, I made a lot of really deep spiritual connections with people. But Nick wanted to do this project about mediumship with one of our friends who's a medium, who was a medium from birth. And he had invited me to his studio in South Philly because he just wanted to chat about the best way to do it. And he needed somebody who was like familiar with the spiritual world to help him understand it or something. So we were sitting in his studio, which was like an office, and it had all kinds of equipment everywhere and these cabinets and drawers and boxes and stuff all over the place. And he goes, I really wish I could connect with my brother-in-law, Anthony. It's been a long time. He's been gone 2 years now, and I really miss him. And he goes, hey, do you think you could connect with him? Because we were talking about mediumship. At the time, I had only done angel communications, right? So I'm like, I don't know. And I'm hearing you can try. And I said, well, we could try. And he goes, okay. So I closed my eyes, and I just kind of closed my eyes and I was breathing, and I'm like asking my angels, can you connect me with Nick's brother-in-law, Anthony? So I get this kind of a feeling and a vision of a guy going, how about that pole dancing video? He's going, how about that pole dancing video? And it just kept repeating like a little GIF. You know how GIFs repeat?
Right. Oh, right.
How about that? So I had my eyes closed. So I just said, I have to say this. So he's saying, how about that pole dancing video? And I still have my eyes closed. And I said, okay, so now he showed me like the universe, like space. And each person was like a star or a planet or something. And like people who had had disagreements or weren't talking to each other anymore, people who love each other but had a falling out, he would get this, they had heartstrings. He would show me like pulling this string and pulling that person's string, and he would pull them and tug them slowly and gently and tie them back together so they were healed the relationship. So he was like a peacemaker, right? And he was showing me that nothing gave him more joy than bringing people back together in this way. And that's what he was doing on the other side. He was very busy helping people heal relationships from the other side. So as he's kind of coming to a conclusion, he says to me, that's it, Nick, he goes, I was just joking about that pole dancing video, I was just kidding, like, bro, it's okay, bro. I was just joking, right? So then he leaves, right? He's gone. And I open my eyes, and Nick is sitting there with his mouth wide, like, and I go, what? I'm like, what does this make any sense to? What's with this pole dancing video? He goes, stay right there. I got to show you something. So he gets up from his desk.
Oh,
He goes
no.
over to this big tall cabinet, opens the doors, roots around, and comes out with this video box. And on the front, it's a pole dancing instruction video that he had made how to pole dance. Brother-in-law used to razz him about it all the time. So I was like, oh my God, you're kidding me. He goes, Rita, this is amazing. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Because he was basically connecting. We were talking with Anthony, and he was like, I love you and everything's cool, the family, I'm helping with this and that. And he goes, Nick said, Rita, that's how he was when he was here. When he was alive, he was always trying to make peace and always trying to get people to, mend fences and things. I'm like, well, he loves it so much, he's still doing it on the other side. And it was such a thrill to actually have that validation when he came out with that box and showed me that video. I was floored. I'm like, oh my God, this is actually happening. So the people on the other side, they can show you so much. Like when you connect with someone who's passed away from here, they're still alive, obviously, in another dimension. But the things that people choose to do in their afterlife, fascinating. I had one woman who said, I just want to be the wind. I don't want to be tied to anything. I am the wind. And the man that I was doing the session with, he says, oh my God, every morning I go out to my balcony with my cup of coffee and I think of her and I'll feel the wind hit my face and I know it's her. And I'm like, well, there you go. She's the wind. Because it gives her a sense of freedom. He goes, yeah, she always wanted to fly. And I'm like, oh my God, like just validation after validation after validation. And you're like, this is crazy, but it's wonderful. It's not crazy. It's real. Like we're doing this. There are literally so many stories and so many beautiful ways. Like you just explained how he saw her with color, the colors of her aura. He could really see her. Like, yes, there's no judgment ever. And that's why, as human beings here on planet Earth, we are steeped in judgments. So when we can, this is what evolution is all about, the evolution of the spirit. Our spiritual evolutionary journey is rising above all of that and being
Mhm.
able to be just compassionate and non-judgmental, which is extremely difficult. Again, in the environment that we're in, it's a dense, violent at times environment that we're in. How do you not judge somebody who just committed some heinous crime? Well, how do you not judge them? You see them for the divine being that they are, perhaps coming in specifically to play the role of sociopath. So that why? So that other people could feel what they came here to feel: loss, pain, separation. There's so much that we don't understand about why things are the way they are in this world with the terrible things that happen. But the evolutionary path is to help us move beyond needing this suffering and pain to learn in a different way altogether, to learn, evolve, and grow, where it will no longer be necessary to have people come in as sociopaths to commit heinous crimes. We won't need that anymore to stimulate us to go deep, to open up, to learn. Because let's face it, I mean, some of us won't grow until we've been beaten down, rock bottom, maybe in the worst relationship of your life that tries every sense of you. You feel like you're on trial every day. What does that do? It forces you to look up. When you get pushed down, when you're really hurting, you stop trying to control things and you go, help me, somebody help me. At some point, humanity won't need to be going through that anymore. We will voluntarily choose to seek out the higher self, to rise to that point. And that's why they're saying our purpose here is to simply live in joy. You're supposed to come in here with the expectation that you're going to have community, you're going to have love, relationships, creative projects, appreciation for things in nature, for the things that bring you joy, whatever that might be. And you're supposed to live from that center of joy. And in that process, you're creating joy for others. You're interacting, you're creating opportunities for people to be of service. We're all going to need each other more and more, especially as we grow older, right? When you're a baby, you need everybody to help you. When you're an older person, you need people to help you too. So it runs the gamut. A lifespan on earth requires of all of us to be both a giver and a receiver. You're supposed to be giving and receiving throughout life from joy in a space of love and compassion. And that fulfills us. Spending a day on the beach can be so fulfilling, right? Because you're just absorbing the rays and the sounds of the ocean and the salty air. But you know what? Digging through the remains of someone's home who just burned down to help them remove clutter and debris and clear the space to build a new home can also be extremely fulfilling. It's hard work that can be heartbreaking work. Cleaning up after a war. Look at all the damage that's been done in different places around the world. That all that rubble needs to be cleared. Bodies need to be cleared. People need to be grieved. That can also be fulfilling if we come at it from a place of compassion and as part of a community of light. So we're getting there. It's still underway. They keep saying the road is going to get bumpier before it gets smooth. So we're being
What would you
prepared.
say? I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we have
Yeah.
time for you to do a card.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. What would you say to people right now who just listened to that last part that you talked about, as far as the souls and we're here to experience joy, that are looking around and saying, are you kidding me? Because they might look at other people and say, that's not what I'm getting from a lot of people. They don't want that. They are not promoting that. It doesn't feel like that at all. What would you say? And it doesn't have to be, you know, a long giving them a big lesson, but it can be just if you could say a few words coming from you, maybe even how you do it, how you can keep yourself in that elevated state. We dip in and out all day long, I think, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. So
No, no, no.
yeah, what would you think, or what would you say to people?
become an observer. Just observe from afar, if you will. Don't entangle and enmesh your heart with what is occurring today. I'm not saying don't feel empathy, don't feel rage or anger for what you see that isn't right in the world today, but don't internalize it. For God's sake, don't put yourself in a position where you are steeped in anger, resentment, frustration, anxiety. Don't go there because that is not helpful for anyone. It doesn't matter what's going on out there. If you see something that is just, you got to shake your head and go, you got to be kidding me. You just turn away from it, focus back on your present moment awareness. What am I doing with myself today? I'm going for a walk. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You focus it back on what brings you joy, disconnect from the drama. And if there's truly something happening in this world that is affecting you, that is like near and dear to your heart, that you literally cannot let go without having some kind of statement about it, then take action. Take action. Make a sign, stand on a street with a bunch of other people and shout if you have to. Do what you need to do to handle it, because right now, again, the world is as it is. There will always be power struggles. There will always be inequity, injustice. There will always be senseless acts of violence. The world is shifting and changing. And as we who are awakening grasp that, we understand that we have a part to play in all of this. And that part is to stay focused on what feels good, what brings joy, to foster and build community relations with your family first, in your own home first, and then to the wider community around you. That means instead of listening to the news all day, you put on beautiful classical or some jazz or, I don't know, Blondie, whatever you like to listen to and sing to that gets you feeling really good. Appreciate the mastery behind that art form. Create some of your own art, perhaps. And then cook a meal and bring some to a friend. Take some extra grocery bags to your local food pantry so they can use them to pack up food for the hungry. Do something productive that makes you feel good in your day. And that counteracts all the negativity. Over time, what happens is people will get to see each other in the best light possible. And also, there is no space for judgment. Okay. So just stay away from topics that create that anxiety. Politics, it's like a time bomb. It can just blow up at any moment. So don't go there. If you are involved and you want to talk about some of the changes that are happening in government or in politics, then write to your local congressman. Show up at an event, an organizing event, create an organizing event. Take action. Don't just steep yourself in the feeling of it, the emotion of it, but move through it with grace and patience and focus on you. Just focus on you and what brings you joy. And in doing that, you're going to change the world. Absolutely.
That is beautiful. Really. So eloquently said. I love it. And yes, because creating something, the creative mind, the creative self, automatically when you're in that creativity mode, you're elevating your vibration. You just are. You're in the flow state. And then also coupling that with doing something for someone else, so making a meal for another person, you get the benefit of elevating your vibration. And at the same time, your heart chakra's opening. All kinds of good things are happening. And then somebody's getting a wonderful meal and feeling loved or feeling taken care of. And when you're in that, it's really hard to just kind of flip and go the other way, but just focus on being in that state. And it could be just making a piece of jewelry or sweeping something, your front porch. You're focused, you're in the flow, you're maybe using your hands. That's a great way of giving advice to people right now. And I know a lot of people who are in the program, and they would say too, one day at a time. You take it one day at a time.
Yeah, and if you get triggered, you find something's triggering you, distance yourself from it. The minute you
Yes.
hear something on the radio, on the news, just turn it off. You don't
Hmm.
need to know everything. You don't need to know the details, and you certainly don't need to have it fed to you 24/7. So just the minute you hear something that aggravates you, irritates you, make you angry,
Yeah.
just turn it off. Turn your attention to something that brings you joy, and that's how you survive. That's how you survive changing times, is by focusing on you, what brings you joy, distancing yourself from people and situations that trigger you, and don't feel bad about it. If you have to remove yourself from an environment for your own peace of mind, do it. No apology, no explanation needed. Just say, I gotta go. Bye.
Mhm. I keep
I'm
seeing,
leaving. I'm no longer staying in this dysfunctional
yes,
frequency. I can't be
adios.
here. Goodbye. It's no different than somebody who has allergies, you know? You're like, oh, you have cats. I'm allergic to cats. I can't be in here. So it's like, oh, you have negative vibes. I
I'm
can't be in
allergic
here.
to
I
your
gotta go. Bye.
conversation.
Seeking higher ground.
Exactly. I keep picturing like an old fashioned plug, unplug one and plug in something else. So we're
Exactly.
changing the channel.
Change the
And
channel.
again, you're disconnecting from one thing, but you're not going to just stand there completely blank. You need to
Yeah.
plug into something else and then
Yeah.
fill
Don't
yourself
engage
up with
with stuff
something
that gets
else.
you fired up and angry. Just don't
Hmm.
do it.
And it
Stop.
is moment by moment. You can't,
Yeah. Stop
you
it.
can plug in a new vibration, but it's not going to last,
No.
inevitably. It's just going to be triggered or change or ebb and flow.
Yeah.
And knowing that moment by moment, day by day, I think to look into the future of like 8 years, 4 years, 10 years is, oh, you feel that.
Yeah.
And
Don't
then
do
when
it.
you realize, no, every morning when I wake up, what is my first mental thought? What is my thought? And the feeling in my body. And I can change that like that.
Oh
I can
yeah, take
breathe
care of your
in.
body. Right, the body
Hmm.
too. Body, body, body. It's all about the body.
Yeah.
Feeling your body, giving your body what it needs, fresh air,
Hmm.
good food, exercise, water. Take care of that body because it's gonna feel it too. The body's such a
Yes.
receptor of all things emotional, frequency
Hmm.
wise. The body could feel a lot of anxiety from just stuff that's happening. So make sure you give it what it needs.
Yeah,
Push it, use it. Make sure it's getting what it
exactly.
needs. Yeah.
Yes, because the emotions, if they are pushed down or blocked or kept not released, because we're going to feel them and you can
Yeah.
let it blow through you.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll take an hour. Maybe the more you do it, let it blow through you, it'll be 5, 10 minutes. But when it stays and it sticks around and you keep feeding it or keep pushing it down, it will manifest,
Yeah.
into something, whether it's just stomach aches, stomach pains, migraines, headaches, or something even more. Um, so do you have time to do a
Yeah.
little one card? Okay, this will be fun. So tell us just what you're getting for right now.
Okay. Um, well, earlier I told you I picked the High Priest card, and this is about intending
Mm,
and creating. But I think what I want to do is maybe just pull another card. I am using the Angels and Ancestors deck by Kyle Gray. I really like this deck. Um, it just has a really nice feel to it and
I
really.
love Kyle Gray.
I also use White Angelica, which
Hmm.
is an essential oil, helps open me up. And we're going to just kind of feel into a message for what's happening. What do we need to know right now? Important that we take our time with ourselves also. Don't rush. Don't feel the pressure of time. We like to think of things in terms of how long something's going to take. How much time is it going to be? When is this going to happen? Never again. Focus only on the present moment. Allow what we call divine timing to do what it wants to do. If something hasn't happened for you, it's just not meant to be at this time. Let that go. Let go of expectations about time and timing. Okay, hold on. Gabriel's here too, Archangel Gabriel. Greetings and love, and wanting to express gratitude to you, Barbara, for this show, for this podcast, for the work that you're doing to give voice to the ones that come through, being a channel, and also offering advice and guidance to others who wish to channel, to use it as a platform for further growth, and to see yourself as one who is assisting in our wider cause. And we are appreciative of you giving us this. Oh, there we go. So what popped out? Ooh, mountains, stand your ground. Okay, so this one is about not giving in to the pressures of those around you. And I've seen this in so many different manifestations. This and the mountain itself is what a symbol of strength. It's a symbol that is used worldwide as overcoming challenges. When you reach the peak, when you climb that mountain, it's a metaphor for so many things. But in this case, this message, stand your ground, it's really about being true to yourself, honoring your choices, your decisions, what you want, and not giving in to the pressures of other people. Don't sacrifice your own comfort, your own happiness for someone else. That time is past. You may think it's selfish in some ways not to do that, but this is the most selfless thing you can do, is to stand your ground, to be firm in your decision, and to make your statements from a place of authority, because you are the authority in your life. You are the one and only authority in your life. You get to choose what stays and what goes. You get to choose what you allow in and what you do not allow in. You get to create your boundaries too about what's acceptable and what's not acceptable to you. There's absolutely no reason that you need to acquiesce to another person just to make them happy or to keep the peace. Once again, we reiterate, if you find yourself trapped or feeling in an uncomfortable, hostile environment, remove yourself from it if you can, rather than engage in any kind of a battle. Standing your ground can also mean removing yourself from a situation that causes you discomfort, pain, or in any ways an irritability that will lead to lower vibrating frequencies of emotional states. So stand your ground. Make sure you see yourself as one who is in authority, who has the power, who is not powerless, but powerful, one who has a voice that needs to be heard, one who has a voice that is not afraid to use that voice, and one who is capable and willing to listen to others as well, but keeping true to yourself is the most important thing at this time. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. Yes, you do.
Yes. And I really think that that's for all the people that are watching, listening to this as well, more for them than, I knew this wasn't a personal reading for me, but I think everybody can get something out of that, really. And again, when you hear something, reading, whoever it is, there's usually something, even if it's a few things that just, you feel like it hits you right here and you go, oh, I'm going to pay attention to that.
There's something I want to show you too on this card. The mountain picture, it looks like it's both above and below. It's the same, it's like a mirror image, one and the other. The mountain both goes up and goes down. So this is a representation of what it means to be connected both to your higher non-physical self and to your physical self. Body connection is really important right now. So standing your ground, how do you do that? You stand on 2 feet, right? Feeling steadily grounded in your body is, again, really important for what we're going to be going through in the next couple of years. That means getting as much done as you can to keep your body healthy and strong, to maximize its ability to withstand, and to be rooted and grounded in the truth of your divine nature, but the truth of your human nature as well. That means embracing the emotions that come. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be frustrated. Just don't remain there. Allow it to move through you, like we talked about before. But it's the connection between heaven and earth. And the more we can give ourselves credit for who we are as channels, as connections between both places, the more we can anchor the energies that need to be anchored here, both beneficial energies from the planet and beneficial energies from above. Bringing them here allow us to have a balanced life where we're both human and divine. We're whole and healthy. That's what we need to focus on. Whole and healthy.
I love that. And the feeling or the image of imagining yourself as the mountain. Being strong, feeling strong in your body, as strong in your body as you can. So even if it's doing something you haven't done before, moving your body so it feels stronger. And the outside, whatever's going on the outside around you is like the wind. You know,
Mhm.
sometimes it picks up and there's a lot of gusts, but you remain strong and it just goes, it's around you. It's
That's right.
around you, but it doesn't have to move through you.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Rita, I loved having you. And of course, you're going to have to come back because we could talk for 17 hours probably. We've talked over the years about having the sleepover party where we drink wine and we just talk about this stuff all night long and having like a
Yeah.
group of really cool women. One of these days we'll do that. We really
One of
will. We'll
these
go in
days.
my office and we'll camp out. How
That
can
would be
people reach
fun.
you?
People can reach me through my website, which is I am a divinebeing.com. I know that's a long phrase to think of, but I am a divinebeing.com. Or you can just Google my name, Rita
Mm-hmm.
Strough, Strough, and you'll probably find my listing on Oracle, which is a new website that's I've just joined. It's going to be hopefully the Airbnb of channelers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's a place for people to find someone they resonate with to receive guidance and healing, and like a directory. But I'm pretty excited about it. It's a really dynamic, beautiful new organization that I'm proud to be a part of, as you may also become. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, my website's there. I'm on Instagram at Rita.thedivine. And I'm not really a whole lot on Facebook, but you could probably find me on there too.
People will
I'm trying
find
not to
you.
do too much in social media, but I feel like I have
Mm-hmm.
to, so I don't
I hear
know.
you.
We'll
I
see.
hear you.
We'll see.
Thanks again. This has been great. Thank you for setting aside the time to join me and to have this great discussion. Again, the stuff we love to talk about. We'll be talking more about channeling, and that's what I'm going to be bringing on this show, is to get right into more about channeling and information and how people can connect in some way too. And I
Yeah.
wanted to make one more point at the very end, just to whoever's watching, to who's interested in channeling. It doesn't mean you have to be a working channel, meaning giving messages to other people. So just to be a channel for your own self can be the most rewarding gift you've ever been given, or you can ever open up for yourself. And you don't have to take it anywhere other than your own room, your own house, your own life to become your own channel.
Absolutely right. I agree 100%. It's a beautiful gift that I think we are all capable of doing for ourselves. And the more comfortable you become with sitting in the stillness, listening, asking, and receiving, the more it will open up for you. And it is like a refuge from the exterior world. You know, I've been holding these meditation classes over at my center in Mount Laurel, Divine Being Spiritual Fitness Center in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And each time we sit in this meditative circle for a channeled experience, we are going within and we're disconnecting from the outside world, and we're finding that expansive place within that provides so much relief, so much support, inspiration. It's all there for us already. So as we tune in and we become open to becoming clearer channels for this information, yeah, our lives will definitely improve. Even if it's just for you and not sharing it with the world, just do it for you. It's a gift to
Mm-hmm.
give yourself. I agree
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. And we're all capable of doing it. Rita, again, love you.
I love you
And
and thank you so much. This was so much fun. Let's do it again.
we will soon. And for anybody and everybody who's joining us and watching and listening, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got something really valuable out of this particular program. And there's going to be a lot more. So looking forward to all of you joining and learning. Bye-bye.